So my name's Justin Pettit. I am one of the founders of Santa Carota Beef. My dad and I, we started finishing cattle on carrots as a project 8 or 9 years ago. 10 years, let's say 10 years ago, we were making some bread heifers with carrots. During the Dust Bowl, my grandfather, he came out when he was a little kid, and at the end of it, right around 39, 40, they lived in a tent till he was 12 years old, and they couldn't feed him anymore, and so he had to leave the tent. And he was an orphan, bumming around, and during labor camps, this old cowboy picked him up and taught him how to shoe horses, and they had a horse ranch up in the mountains, and they turned it into a cattle ranch. And he went off to the military. He became a fireman. My dad was a fireman. My brother and I both fought forest fires. But in the late 80s, my grandfather tried to buy a stack of hay that was grown with some wastewater from a carrot processing facility from Bill Bolthouse. I don't know if you've seen the Bolthouse Farm salad dressings and juice drinks.
Yep.
So, okay, they were a smaller company then. And he said, well, what can you want to grow this hay for us? And what can you do with these cool carrots? So we were like feeding carrots in the back of the back 40, of their property. And so eventually the baby carrot was invented in my town, and this thing just blew up. So we had to start buying and buying and leasing properties. I mean, we were feeding cows on old oil field, just put a fence around some oil fields and panels around the pumps and feed some cows. Just dump carrots forever, right? And the baby carrot kind of really pumped up production. He'd have these huge ebbs and flows. The dairies came up to Bakersfield, and they kind of started taking some of the product, but we had to expand either way as the carrot processors grew, because the two biggest carrot producers in the world are 8 and 10 miles from our ranch. And we've strategically built it for that, because carrots they're 90% water. So if you try to go 20 miles away, the freight's going to double, and the freight costs more than the dang carrots.
Yep.
We have this advantage of it. And so we tried cutter cows. We did just calves, our own calves. We'd background them. We'd feed cattle for other people. But about 10 years ago, my dad and I, we were making some bread heifers. And so it was, tight numbers, drought. And we could feed the carrots when no one else had grass on a drought year. And the government had come out and said, look, anybody who has to liquidate part of their herd, they don't have to pay capital gains for 3 years. So we were trying to time this market, okay? And we did all right, broke even a little better a couple years. We made money one year. The loser was always the cattle, the heifers that didn't get pregnant, or they aborted, they were free martin, And so we would grain them out and sell a cow or two. We would take them to the auction, and we had heard of guys 70s, 80s, doing military contracts, but the fat does turn a little yellow orange. There were some guys that tried to do it in a feedlot and then, didn't really pan out. But grass-fed movement really kind of broke the mold on, hey, corn, the fat doesn't have to be white from corn, right? And ours has a little bit of a yellowy orange tint because of the beta carotene. So we harvested, we did a pen of about 12, and we harvested and ate the first one in April of 2017. It was on my birthday. And we were like, dang, dude, this is good. We got something, But now what? And so
what's different about it? The carrot finish?
So carrots are 90% water. So if a cow's got to eat, if it's going to eat 10 pounds of grain in a day, it's got to eat 100 pounds of carrots to get the same 10 pounds of dry matter.
Okay.
Follow me?
Yep.
So that 90% water, this carrot smoothie juice, right? It fills that muscle tissue and it stretches it like elastic, okay? And it wears it so much that you can just peel the meat apart. And then when you bite into it, it's like a water balloon. So it's got this pop in your mouth like a berry sensation. So for anybody who knows wine, I would say a grain-fed steak is more like a Cab or a Merlot, and ours is going to be more like a Pinot or a Nebbiolo, a lot lighter. It's a sexier beef, right? And you feel good after you eat it because all the B vitamins in it. Like when we would sell this burger in Vegas, we'd sell it as a hangover burger, right? Because it's a shot of B12.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
So we were like, man, all right, we got this stuff. And now what do we do? And so we leaned into marketing because you don't really get a second chance for a first impression. And we wanted to look like, hey, we are scalable. So let's make it look like a company that's scaling. And then two, we looked at what a lot of guys had done where they try to integrate and they would go sell all their steaks and they end up with just pallets and freezers full of ground beef. And then you're not cash flowing. You have no home for it. And then it's like, oh, well, we have to keep killing cows because we're on the menu for these steaks, but we have no home for burger. Burger's like up to 50% of the cow, right?
Yep.
So we led with that. We found a great burger chain. They were, we did a dry aged burger on their menu. And I mean, we were like overnighting boxes of meat to Boulder, to all over California, so anywhere. It was a
hit.
It was a hit. And then COVID was a hit, like in a bad way, because our big customers were like Vegas. Once we had this burger chain, we were long on steaks. Good problem. So we found other distributors. They plugged us into like the Win. The Win loved it. They came out, did this big photo shoot on us, and we were in their magazine. And the gal who wrote the story for the Win magazine sold our story to Food and Wine. This was all pre-COVID. So we were really starting to take off. We were still selling at a loss though. And right around February of 20, we broke even. March of 20, we like first profit a little bit. We're like, okay, it's a volume game now. Boom, COVID hits. Orders start getting canceled. Restaurants are shutting down.
Interesting.
Whole thing again, right?
Because you hear two sides of that story with COVID. Either it's like the best years that producers have ever had, or it's like the worst. It's just so interesting to hear that.
It was a roller coaster in California because of the governor. We did a lot of good things we're proud of. Meanwhile, I have a daughter with cerebral palsy, and we were getting amazing therapy for in Los Angeles. Well, they shut the facility down during COVID, and like the therapists were having to like Zoom or whatever, and so my wife's beside herself. We're tens of thousands of dollars into this. She's never gonna walk, and I felt for her. So I rented a house in our neighborhood, and we essentially like found one of the therapists that wanted to come up, and she still had her job, but she lived in the house in our neighborhood, and we got like hands-on daily therapy, right? Coolest thing ever. So we saw great results from that. And then things started to open up like at the end of the summer of 2020. And we did some great things with the meat company too. Like I remember one time I had a bunch of friends show up at the ranch like 3:34 in the morning, and we cooked a pile of beef ribs, right?
Okay.
And then a local barbecue company that we had been working with but had to like shut down essentially because of COVID, they brought like salads and silverware, and I called all the local radio stations, and we cooked for all the nurses and the frontline workers. So no one really knew this thing in like March, April, right? So we were making meals for them and having all the radio station vans like drop off at the different hospitals. So we were trying to help them out. So they start opening things up like mid to late summer, and I remember we went back down to LA for therapy for my daughter, and it came out on the news that Newsom was like shutting it down again. And we had already taken all these cattle that had been on feed with no homes for them.
Shutting down what?
All the restaurants.
All the restaurants.
Again, yeah, pretty much like locked up. He was telling people you can't even have Thanksgiving, right? Like no more than 4 people or whatever.
Yeah, stay inside.
We did a big FU party at the barn and invited everyone to the ranch, right? Like it was a thing. But
I did the same thing.
Yeah. So I remember seeing that, and we had harvested a bunch of cattle and put them in a box, and then all of a sudden, like, there's no home for them. It was bad. And so that therapist ended up hating it. She quit, and I sold a piece of property. And we started a pediatric therapy center in Bakersfield and made it work. And like the first year that we were open, 10 kids never talked, 10 kids never walked. Like we still see God working in that, and that was the lemonade that we were made to make out of those lemons. And then we also kind of helped out with, there's a chef that we work with we really like. His name's Andrew Gruel. He had like a fundraiser kind of a deal for restaurant workers. And because look, the waiters and waitresses, those are our sales reps, right? Like, do you want the chicken or you want the steak? Look, your tip's going to get bigger on the percentage because the beef costs more.
Yep.
So we want to like, and they were like out of jobs, you know? And so he had this burger on his menu and everything went to the restaurant workers. So we donated all the raw material for this kind of burger program, you know, to help him out. And then
And this is right when you started
this was
making a profit, right?
COVID stopped all that. Like everything hits reset. Like you were going this
So
way.
your opportunity for
Shut it down.
it was shut down.
Shut down.
But then you were giving everything.
We donated some. We sold some. Like we had whole, you know, boxes of whole strip loins. We brought back and got cut into steaks.
Yep.
We were going to restaurants and trading them for food that they was going to go bad.
As scrappy as you can.
We set up farmers market. Like we would sell at farmers markets. You know.
Okay.
Do what you got to do, right?
Yep.
Survival mode. So this is all kind of happening at the same time. Built the therapy center. We launched that beginning of 21. And then I remember in December of 20, I was like driving around and just giving a box of meat to these restaurants that were open under protest, like a speakeasy. Okay.
Okay.
But the ABC Alcohol and Beverage Commission was like seeing people were like, hey, these guys are open on social media. And then they would go there and take their liquor license for being open. It was the only thing the state could do to try to. So I had to tell everyone, you could email me or DM me, but don't post it. And we ended up like making an entire dispatch list for my town and like who's open, and brought pallets of meat out to the barn and had some friends that wanted to help. We literally like, I did a little sermon and we prayed over all this meat and we got it to everyone that we could, you know, trying to help them out because it was hard for everyone. I remember going into
so you have an underground meat market going on in there.
Kind of. We were just trying to help them and we weren't even charging them, you know. We just wanted to
more
see
about doing the right thing.
It was the right thing. Yep. We had one restaurant I walked to and I knew the owners, and she's like, Justin, they want me to close my doors and my employees won't get their last check or unemployment before Christmas. I can't do that. Like I got to keep them on the payroll. So I gave him some steaks. I'm like, here, run a special, see if that helps out, you know. It was a thing. And then 21, that burger chain that we had the one burger on, they shut down to only 5 restaurants, takeout only. So we were able to be their exclusive provider. Okay. All right. So then as they started to open up, we would open up with them and kind of pop the clutch and away we go. And it worked for a while. And I had knocked on a lot of doors during COVID, trying to just sell product on the East Coast and everything. We ended up with a great distributor in the Northeast. They plugged us into the Pittsburgh Steelers and covered DC and New York and stuff for us. That was pretty cool. And then Vegas really turned it on and our story kind of got out there. And things were going all right, but 23, I could really like see these ground beef orders slipping, right? I'm like, what in the heck? Math wasn't mathing. We're opening 3 restaurants a year, but my orders are going down. I'm not, you know, and so I was able to get the numbers from the restaurant and how many pounds they'd used in all these years. And I knew how many pounds that we had sold. And we kind of came to the conclusion that the processor, the meat processor that takes our raw material, grinds it, puts it in a patty, gets it to the restaurant, that they'd essentially been mixing other product than ours with ours. All right.
Really?
Yes. Like
doing what the grocery stores do, like multiple carcasses, funneling it into one thing and then selling it for more. Marking it up.
Yeah. I mean, if it was the 80s, you'd say they were putting, you know, baking soda and Colombian cocaine kind of a thing, right? Or cutting it.
Yep.
So I confronted them on it. And when I did, the orders went through the roof, like back to what they should have been.
Your orders?
Yeah, the ground beef orders.
Interesting. Once you called them out.
So we started blowing through cattle and inventory, trying to keep up, right? And then, I mean, we were grinding up New York's and ribeyes just to try to make sure to fill this void.
Wow.
And I borrowed a bunch more money to get out in front of it and buy cows to see like, okay, we've got to catch up with this and get our steaks up there and everything. And it just wasn't enough. And in about the spring of 25, we just throttled everything back, took care of the Steelers training camp, and then put everything we could into our e-commerce program. We opened up a lawsuit on them, and We start mediation on Tuesday. So, man, praying something good comes of that, you know? It's like the David and Goliath story.
So what is that? I mean, what does that kind of look like? I guess.
I don't know. I mean, this is my first time going down this road.
Okay.
I know that the world, or this, especially this country, like people are tired of the dirty tricks from the big meat processors.
Yep.
And if we don't do something about it, like who will? They're gonna do it to the next guy and the next guy, right? And so at some point, somebody's got to stand up and say this is wrong. And we've put everything on the line for that.
And so you're fighting. I mean, you're not going to mention them, but like, you're fighting this bigger processor essentially that was just defaming your product.
Yes.
And I'm backing up a little bit. I'm kind of curious from that COVID time to, you said 2023, why not? Like, what kept you going and not just quitting on it?
Well, we didn't really know.
Okay.
We were growing. So we were trying to raise money, like, we still are, like, have investors look at it. But something just like couldn't get us over the hump. And it was the lack of sales, you know? We should have been cash flowing a lot more.
Because of this partnership that you had.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. So think of this, though. Like, when I started telling you about where other guys went wrong and the ground beef backs up, well, we had to start slowing down on harvesting altogether. So now I'm losing my spot in Hell's Kitchen. Now I'm losing my spot at the Win because I'm sold out all the time and they get tired of it.
Yep.
But if I keep killing cows for steaks, then I don't cash flow with the burger.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And meanwhile, look, we had some crazy stories in those years too. We had the cartels show up and start doing like illegal grow houses on the other side of the fence from us. And my boys, they used to ride their little quads like the back way to the barn. And now I'm like, dude, I don't want them to be around this mess, you know?
Yep.
DEA wouldn't do anything because it's legal in California, but these were illegal ones, right? Sheriff really didn't want to touch it. We're understaffed, blah, blah, blah. But the local police department had their pistol range eminent domain because it's in town and town's growing around it.
Yep.
So we set them up a shooting range on our side of the fence and let the cop cars come out and just start banging away. And those guys packed their bags and left.
That's like something out of Landman.
Yeah, we did it first though.
Yep.
So we did it first.
Inspired by you.
Yeah. Oh, we had a guy that we knew, really close friend, like been to my kids' birthdays and stuff, and he got on drugs, and like he was showing up at the ranch, like saying he was gonna put mineral in the water, and it was just weird talking. Said he owned our ranch, you know, just on drugs, fried, right?
Yep.
Well, he showed up at one of the ranch houses where one of my employees lives, and like was trying to beat the door in, and they called us, and I beat the cops there, and we jump out, and there's like 5 dudes, 3 of us have guns, right? And he's got like a shovel handle. He's like, "You gonna shoot me?" And he's coming at me, and he looked at one of the cowboys to see what he was gonna do. When he did, like, I didn't want to shoot this guy, dude. Like, I loved him. Like, he was a good friend. So I butt stroked him with a shotgun, and we beat the hell out of him and zip tied him till the cops got there. One of the cops crashed a car on the way in, like made a wrong turn and hit a pole. Oh yeah, this is a Wild West. It's Western out west, you know. But I think that these are just all the things that they say when something good's trying to happen, there's something bad trying to stop it.
Always. Yep.
You know, and I just feel like, you know, God put this mission for us in our life, and we're just going to keep fighting for it no matter where it takes us. I don't think the right way is ever the easy way, you know? So it's just a thing. And it's been quite the adventure. I don't think we'd have it any other way. I mean, we moved to Texas about 1.5 years ago. My daughter, you know, even though we built that therapy center and it's still one of the best independents in the nation, we got some great results for her out here in Texas. And we saw, like, she walked down the hall on crutches in July of 24. We were renting a house out here, just like, and we prayed about it. Man, my house sold in 10 days in California. And this stuff was already happening. You know, we were trying to figure it out, and I was running out of money. And so it's like, I'll sell a house, go back and get her walking, and I had some equity money I could just live on while we try to get through this still. So we moved out here and rented a house we'd never seen, like rolled in, met some great people. And then my dad got sick. He had AFib off and on. We couldn't figure it out. And this last December, I went out and he could barely walk. And I got everything gathered, got the calves branded, everything kind of organized. And we were waiting on insurance, you know, how great the healthcare system is, for a bone scan and MRI. And he got a blood panel done, and his knee surgeon called me and it's like, hey, you need to get him to the hospital. So he went to the hospital. The doctor called me, and on the 30th, so right before New Year's, he's like, hey, your dad has multiple myeloma, like a blood cancer from your bone marrow. I'm like, crap. All right. And he fractured his hip, and that's how you find it. Yeah. So like I got there on the 3rd, and it took about a week to get him out of the hospital. He hadn't even had surgery yet. So we got surgery done and got him out of the hospital, and he got sick and like went back in, and we had to do some hospital transfers. I called my brother. Like, hey man, like this looks bad. Like we'd like to get him to Texas, you know, some great treatment. My brother lives down in Katy, so he's close to MD Anderson, and if we could get him there, that'd be great. But it's either going to go left or right now. So he flew out and helped me out, and we were taking turns in the hospital, and finally got him well enough. We had a friend that has a plane, and she's like, I'll drop him off in Fort Worth for you guys. I got something I was like on the fence about going to Oklahoma City for. Well, he still had like a midline from his antibiotics, you know, in his arm and staples in his leg. But the plane was leaving the next morning. So I'm calling his infectious disease doctor. And I'm like, hey, you know, we need to get the midline out. Well, she's all going on vacation. I know we said no more antibiotics, but she won't pull the midline until she sees him. And she's out of town for another week or two. It's like, oh, okay. We pulled that shit right in the middle of the living room, popped his staples out, wrapped him up, loaded him on a plane, and went. And, you know, he's a big cowboy guy. So I had one of my big buddies from here drive to Fort Worth and like be on the other end of the plane and like grab him, you know, and like get him off the plane. And he hung out at my house for a couple days. I have his old horse out here. And so he gets to hang out with his horse and one of his dogs. And then we got him down to MD Anderson, and it's going to be a long road from it, you know, but where there's a will, there's a way, you know?
It's just because you felt like you had to. You know, most people would be like, oh, like my dad's in this situation, I'm just going to trust whatever these doctors are going to do with them, right? And then, I mean, really what you're telling me across the board here is that it's just been thing after thing after thing that's happened to like work against you.
I don't think to change. Look, I want to leave the world a better place than we found it.
Yep.
Right? Like we have,
That
since
should
the
be the goal
therapy
for
center, my wife was working there, and we started a foundation because she hated collecting money from special needs parents.
Yep.
So now we have a foundation that blesses kids all over the country, and we send them to independent therapy centers, and we've seen some great results. So sometimes people are like, hey, you know, I tell them I have a special needs daughter, and they're like, I'm sorry. I'm like, look, this is what God had planned for us. Yep. Somebody had to do, we're just ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things. And it's not because we choose to, it's just the circumstances that we've been dealt. It's an uphill battle, but if you really want to change the world, I don't think it's that easy. Like you got to get some blisters on your hand and grab a shovel.
Yep.
You know, and
it's not about only you. It's not a selfish.
No, it's not a selfish thing. It's just doing the right thing. You ever been in a situation where you wake up the next day and you're like, man, like I should have punched that bully, or I should, you know, like you have this pit in your stomach of regret.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to live with that. And I feel like if something, I mean, you're talking life or death, like I don't want to be in a situation where I regret anything. Look, our beef, like we work with people with celiac, histamine sensitivity, Crohn's, and it's very light on their stomach. And we've learned a lot about it. You know, the histamine sensitivity, they don't like an age on their beef. So like the guys that do the whole cow and half cow where it hangs for 21, 28 days, that can get them. We've learned to pack them immediately for them. And there's some people that just say, look, I can only eat your meat because, or very select brands, and look, we're helping these people.
Yep.
So why would I ever quit on that? You know, because I'll always say what if we didn't. So I think I think that winners focus on winning and losers focus on the winner. So if I worried about like second place all the time, man, we'd never reach our full potential. And we've just put ourselves in situations to where, you know, they say that God doesn't give you anything you can't handle, and I think that's crap. I think that God gives us situations we can't handle without him.
Yep.
And that where we need him. And as long as we know that like that's our rock and that's the purpose, like bring it on. Like I would rather go down swinging for the right reasons than roll over and die and always wonder what if.
Yep.
You know,
I'm the same way, and that's a big reason. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm like, who's the original entrepreneurs? You know, ranchers, like the most scrappy, like I'm gonna do what needs to get done in order to finish this thing, like this thing that I'm so passionate about. And it's like that's all that it's about for you guys. Is like, I respect it so much. So it's like I became really passionate about it, and then all these forces are fighting against me to like tell these stories, and like I'm out here alone because there's nothing lined up the way it should have. But I was like, I still need to do it because I can't live with the regret of that.
And hey, most guys on a ranch are all alone too, with a
Yep.
broken water line and the wrong parts and the whole thing, right? And
Yep.
so
Problem,
you kind
figure
of,
it out.
yeah. So you're a plumber, you're a tractor operator, you're an electrician, and you're a horseman and everything, you know?
Yep.
And so there's a lot of hats under one hat. There really is.
And the thing I like about the faith-based side of it is, that's kind of what I lead with. Whenever things get difficult, I start to say like, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called.
Mhm.
And that's something, when things get hard, it's just repeating through my head. Like, this is preparing me for something later. This is preparing me for whatever I'm going to get through. Like, I only pray for broader shoulders, not a lighter burden.
Man, for a while I was praying for God to get me out of it. Now I'm just praying for him to get me through it.
Yep.
You know? And I'll be better on the other end. You know, my marriage has been better. We've had to get in the foxhole together with this thing. And I mean, when you go a year without a paycheck, like it's tough,
Yep.
you know, and still smile for your kids and be there and the whole thing. But at the end of the day, like, what are you leaving? And I think that's like you and I were talking about earlier, you know, I teach the Bible and put it up on YouTube for some friends, but it's forever. My kids will have dad like on video reading and teaching the Bible forever. And those kind of things are really like a legacy.
Yep.
And I don't want my name on it. Like I want God's glory on it. I'm not narcissistic enough to need that. If that makes any sense.
Yep.
Like you can have it. Man, I got some great stories and a great adventure out of this along the way. And whatever may come, like I know I'm on the right side of things.
Yep. That people are trying to pinch out these rural communities, and I'm like, I see both sides of it. So it's like the people that want to do good things are like, they're not necessarily,
I think
they're not everywhere. It's far and few between. So it's
education's a big one. I mean, like people's heads and hearts are in the right place.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that, everything should be grass fed. Well, let's time out here because it's less than 1% of the US beef population.
Yep.
Could we do something about it? Yeah. But 85% of our meat comes from like, New Zealand or Australia. So whole different, it's going to take a lot of time, like I won't even cuss the feedlots. I think that we've tried to put like the sustainability label on something. Well, profitability is sustainability because you can't live if you're broke, right?
Yep.
So if a rancher is making money and the feedlot's making money and the packers making money, it's sustainable,
Okay.
right? And then, but they've done it in such volume and efficiency, man. Like the supply chain we built was literally like swimming up the Niagara. It's like merging onto an 80-mile-an-hour freeway on your bicycle.
Okay.
Because the supply chain moves. You've got 21 to 30 days from the time you kill those cows to get it into the supply chain if it's not frozen, right? And if it's frozen, like unless you have a great direct-to-consumer model built, man, it's a boneyard.
Yep.
Now, not so much, but I think that the boneyards have been cleaned out with meat prices on the rise.
Right.
People, anything that was in the freezer, people are like, I'll take anything at a discount at this point. I just want to feed beef to my family.
Yep.
You know, and there's some voices coming out about the big packers, and, you know, those guys are losing their ass right now. So is now the time to pick a fight? Maybe, because they're on the ropes, you know. They do a lot of good by getting cheaper meat into the grocery store, but they also have lobbyists, and I don't.
Yep.
Right? Like, you are the lobbyist for the non-Big Four, right? Like, that's it. And we're still paying the beef checkoff dollars to the same companies that also sell chicken. Think about that, right? Like, the big guys also have brands of chicken, but my beef checkoff dollars are going to promote beef for them.
Interesting. So it all just kind of moves straight up.
It's bullshit, right? The whole thing is, because I got to spend money on marketing, but to market my cows, but also whoever sells cows to me has to put money in to market beef in general, commodity beef, which is a direct opposition of me.
But you still have to contribute to it.
Every time you sell a cow.
That's something's. I don't personally. I don't like that.
And a lot of people don't, because it's done right now. Beef prices are higher than they've ever been. No one needs to pay for beef, right? Or like to market beef. It's like, no, just make it like cleaner and cheaper. But the cheaper side, man, it's come to like it's a commodity now, right? Like, it's traded in Chicago. So you remove flavor, you remove nutrition, because we're after the price. We're trying to keep that price peg to it. So I really applaud people who are trying to do something new, different. Even the Wagyu guys, like, forever, if Grandpa never had a Wagyu bull, you know how hard it was to convince like the family, like, hey, let's do some Wagyu, because, you know, it's like, Grandpa didn't do it that way. We're not doing it that way. It's a thing. But hey, anyone who wants to try something new, because it is evolving, and I think that if we think the same today as we do 10 years from now, we're out of business. It's a moving concept constantly, and we have
to adapt to it.
Always. I mean, look what we're doing right now. I'm a rancher, and we're having to tell stories just to let people know who we are, what we're doing, and what we're about, that we're different. But I think the best thing that the American rancher can do is tell their story. And that goes across the board for small businesses in America.
Yep.
There are so many stories like ours, even gnarlier ones, you know, people with bigger problems. And so as long as we kind of keep telling our story, I think that people will rally behind us, you know?
I would agree.
Yeah. They want to see the white hat win at the end of the Western, right? Yep. No one wants to see the bad guy win. And it's just, we're a bunch of little ants in the great scheme of things, but when we all contribute and tell our story, I think that it gains a lot of momentum.
Yep.
I think we're born on a battlefield of good and evil, right? And whether we want to or not, the war's been going on forever, the famines, the everything. And like, what are you going to do about it? That's where I feel like our core is. And, you know, thank God my dad's my partner. My wife backs me up, and like, we're all in all the time. We're in the foxhole of the hardest things in the world. And it seems like every bag of lemons is worse and worse, but we somehow like figure it out. So the one that we were really worried about 3 years ago isn't even as big anymore, because we've climbed these mountains already, you know? And at the end of the day, like, you want to give the glory to God, because he got you there. If he can get you to it, he can get you through it, but it's not on you, you know?
So how do you maintain that, like your philosophy of like what keeps you in the game, you know?
You don't lose till you quit.
Okay.
Like, period. You don't lose till you quit. And
you say that to a bunch of gamblers.
Yeah, that's on them though. Like, you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them when it's gambling, whether it's the cattle market or a card game or whatever. No, this fight we're in, it's I feel like God put this mission on our heart for a reason.
Okay. And
if you don't have a God-sized dream, then you're not going to see God-sized miracles. And you've got to chase them. And you've got to pursue them. Other than that, I mean, like, what? We're here for 80 years and you waste your life?
Yep.
And I really, truly believe that, like, every single person needs to ask God, like, what's your plan for me? What is your plan for me on this earth? And when you get that answer, you chase that till the day you die, till your last breath. Because if you're not, what the hell are we doing here then?
Right.
You know? And there's a big, I mean, the successful people in this world are the ones that never fucking give up. Never. Some people, it looks like they got easy stuff. They might be in an easy season, but I think you're either going into a storm, you're in a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. That's it. And it's rinse and repeat all the time. So
unless you don't do the things. Like if you're not doing things to like take a risk and step outside of that and actually trust like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And it's
we're guilty of playing the cards we're dealt to a fault, but I don't really know. When you try to manipulate things, you know, like if you want to make God laugh, plan your life, right? It's always, he's got a different plan for it. So when you just kind of submit to that, if this is our path, this is our path. And look, I get to go on camera right now and give God the glory.
Yep.
So if I keep doing that, I think that there's still going to be a lot more hardships come our way, and we'll just keep going and going and going until our last breath. And my kids get to see that.
Yep.
You know, like what are you leaving for your kids too? Because if your kids see you not trying, if they see you quit, they're not going to have that perseverance either, or at least you're not going to model it for them.
That's true.
So that's been kind of our deal, you know. And I take my boys go with me everywhere I can. Even my daughter, you know, like I got her a little therapy pony, and we built her a saddle, put handlebars on it, and got these old Calvary clips and a seatbelt off a 72 Caddy. And so like, she cruises around on her horse and she lives her best life, you know?
Give her the best life you possibly can.
Yeah. My youngest son, he's slept on the dirt many a times, shipping cattle, been to Oregon, Washington. My oldest son's gone on sales trips from San Diego to Wyoming with me, you know? And it's good for him. They were with me. I remember we were down because we get a lot of questions about why we ship our meat from Texas, but it's all grown in California. And so we were down in Houston area. Katie, I was watching my nieces while my brother was out of town on business. And I was trying to find someone who would help ship our meat for us. And I reached out to this company called Frozen Logistics. And within like 30 minutes, the secretary's like, hey, the owner said if you can be here by noon. And they were in Round Rock, right? Like just north of Austin. If you can be here by noon, then let's do it. So I threw my boys in the truck, blew a hole in the wind, got there, and they're literally building this like cold storage in the middle of a cornfield. Like if you build it, they will come. Like dreamers, right? Yep. And you know, family owned and operated people, awesome, you know, awesome family. And essentially what they're building is this like online farmers market for anything frozen, and automated pick and pack, the cool deal. And so when they were ready, we just started sending product to them. And here's why we ship out of Texas and not California, because Texas is more centrally located. So we can go 3 days with dry ice and get it to places where when we try to ship meat from California, if you overnight it, it's expensive and it's like more than the meat. Or you try to cheapskate it and you end up with, you know, melted meat on a Monday morning and a bad Yelp review.
Yep.
So logistically, it works better to ship from Texas. So we can hit all the states. And this facility has dry ice pellet mills where they're not reliant on buying dry ice from another company who might be out and you're trying to fill orders. So it's really, it's been successful, but we do get a lot of those questions. But all of our cattle are grown in California, or on our carrots, and then we harvest them in California. We fill our food service orders, and then from there they go individual steaks, and then that's when flash frozen. Then they go down to our cold storage in Round Rock.
Do you see a lot of people doing that exact kind of thing? Because I get customer questions all the time as well, where it's like the rancher was in Idaho, but it was shipped from Utah, and it's, I mean, customers don't understand.
They don't. Look, we have, for anyone local, we have a half and whole and quarter animal program. So if you're close to our area, we have a butcher shop in Southern California that we haul live animals to, and we can do it the old fashioned way. Do we have that coast to coast? No. And my integrity won't let me, because if you see a lot of guys that will say, "Oh, I'm going to sell you a, a whole cow or a half cow," there's no beef ribs, or there's no short ribs, you might not get a tri-tip. They just have a set amount of steaks and a set amount of burger that's comparable to it.
Yep.
And I just can't tell someone you're getting a whole cow, but well, the ribeyes are boneless, but where's the beef ribs? Where's the short ribs at? If I tell someone they're getting a whole cow, I think that my integrity says I want to send them one animal, not just single source from one load of cattle, 30, 35 to 40, but like that one animal, so they know all the ground beef came from that animal, nose to tail, right?
Right.
That to me is a whole or half animal program.
Okay.
So we offer that, but we don't offer to ship that out. We don't ship from that butcher shop, because again, we'd be shipping from California.
So with everything unfolding in front of you right now too, what do you see as what is your goal with it? Because it's really a story of somebody fighting the good fight against, a bigger packer, and you're going into a lawsuit against that. So I'm curious what your goal and what your message in 2 or 3 sentences would be to.
Well, never give up, right? My goal is to look. We're still gonna,
because you haven't gotten a.
We have not, no, and we want to pay our bills, and we're still gonna probably have to go raise money, bring on investors, and I want to scale it. I mean, if you look it up, the USDA says we harvest about 230,000 head of grass-fed animals every year. Now, we're verified grass-fed, and we also grade Choice Prime, and we do all these amazing health benefits too. We could do 25,000 to 30,000 head of cattle with the amount of carrots that are out there. So we could increase the U.S. grass-fed output by over 10%.
That's incredible.
That means I am not fucking giving up, right? Yep. If I do not keep going, it will be, I'll regret it for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And I'm not going to have that.
You can't live with it.
I'd rather wear the white hat and keep going in the shootout all the way down the line.
Wow. Increase the entire U.S. cattle herd by
grass-fed.
10%.
The grass-fed.
The entire U.S. grass-fed cattle herd by 10%.
And that's not a lot, right? I'm saying we do 25, 30,000 head. The Lubbock feed yard that just shut down, that carried 50,000 head. So you're going to you do 6 months on an animal, that means 100,000 head are going to go through there because you get 2 crops.
Right.
Okay, we're a drop in the bucket. But we actually have a healthy, very tasty product. When you eat it, it chews light. It's a sexy steak that you can take your wife, and your wife's going to eat it.
Yep.
So we have such a great product, and the market and the entire country screaming for something like this. I'm not going to let it go. I think we got to keep battling. I love to communicate with our customers, our fans, whoever you are, with all the questions, from the vaccine questions to, the mRNA, no, it's not in the beef string and we'll never use it. My kids aren't even vaccinated, right?
Yep.
Down to, the antibiotic treatments and how we pull them out. Any questions, we absolutely love them. So feel free to email me anytime, whether it's an order or, an investment opportunity, because I think people want to buy their meat from the rancher, and the more available we make ourselves, the better. They get to know exactly who they are. And if there's a great brand out there that you can't put a face to, it's probably a big one that had some great marketing, that made it look like it was a homegrown.
Or AI.
That's a whole new thing, right? And I'm not against that.
Can you imagine the AI generated rancher? It's we're selling lab grown beef, but it's pasture, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch out for that.
Crazy.
I'm not against though, AI and robots for, let's say, beef packing, because it's so labor intensive, right? Every year somebody gets hurt. So if you could take your work comp is through the roof because you have employees with knives, okay, and heavy machinery. So if you can replace that with some piece of machine, doesn't have to look like a human, right? The fastest way to lower the cost, it costs about 20% of the animal is to harvest it, pack it, and put it in a box, right? So if you can lower that, that's immediate. Right now, we're trying to rebuild the national cow herd, but with the border closed, people are kind of like, well, is the market going to crash? You know, are we going to open some borders up and like start bringing cattle in? We don't know. So why would we hold heifers when we can get the most we've ever had for them going into the meat supply?
Yep.
So we have this kind of thing right now, and the herd's going to rebuild slower. You know, I think beef on dairy, as much as people might not love it, because I mean, look, you're taking a baby calf, it's born that day, and it goes straight to like a dog crate. They're raising it, but it's like 15-18% of the cattle on feed is these beef on dairy programs, and they're cookie cutter, right?
Okay.
And they're still American beef. So there's things that we're doing that to plug the hole in the boat. We might not love it, but they're actually doing some good, you know? So there's a lot of dynamics to it. But I feel like the fastest way that you could do that is lower the cost to harvest. And it's sad that you're taking away American jobs, but that's like the new thing, right?
Yep.
Like you have half the people saying, don't take away American jobs, and the other half saying, how do I get my ground beef to my kids cheaper? So,
and then some people who are willing to throw a premium price on a premium product, and
that's fine. We pay a premium for ours because it takes longer to feed, and it's a special deal. But you know what you're getting, and you know, or you can cut out all the noise and like do what you promote, and buy a half for a whole animal. We love it.
Yep.
Because I don't have to worry about, well, did my steak sales match my ground beef sales with my short rib sales? It's like, no, you bought it all. And I pencil my
freezers are cheap right now.
Freezers are cheap. I pencil my margin in, and it's a done deal.
Yep.
Everyone's happy. The butcher makes money. He's a local guy paying some local cutters, and I love doing that.
Yep.
As big as we get, I will never let that program go. I will always offer that because people get to touch it, feel it, see it. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they're more immersed in the process, and it's
absolutely, and they learn a lot. Like they have to, hey, how do you want your meat cut? Do you want carne asada? Do you want stew meat? Do you want ground beef? They actually get to learn it all the way through the same way we did.
Right. So if somebody's never purchased a half before, what would you want to tell them?
Don't be scared to use a lot of ground beef unless you love roasts and stews, right? We're going into the summer, so are you really going to crock pot that much? You're going to always use burger. And know your butcher, know your rancher. Like that's the funnest part.
Yep.
And once you have a whole or half animal in your freezer, it's always available, and you're never going to want to not have it again. It's like, because if you think of it, and I just mentioned ground beef, I can take frozen ground beef, come home and like throw it in a pan, and I got to make tacos. I can brown it, you know?
Right.
There's people taking frozen steaks and throwing them in the air fryer and nailing them at medium rare now. Like this isn't, we've come a long way, and I feel that having that, it goes from a convenience to a luxury to have homegrown beef in your freezer. And it's actually not that expensive when it comes to the great scheme of things.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know, spending $2,000, $3,000 up front from what I'm seeing for a half versus,
but then then it's there.
And I know everything. I know the loop is closed on, you know, that I'm supporting you. And then
as a dad who's a provider, like when you have meat in your freezer, you know that no matter what, your kids are fed.
Yep.
That's a big deal. That is a big deal to me. And I hope people know that there's a great peace of mind. So it really is. I love answering questions, getting back to people. I think that everyone loves buying their steak from the guy in the cowboy hat.
Yep.
And when we have put some kind of distance between that, it makes it really tough now. You know, we're seeing like lab grown. The chicken thing is crazy, right? Like, you heard the CEO of Campbell's like trashing his own product and saying they put lab grown chicken in their soup, and you're like, holy crap! So, as the lab grown thing is, if you didn't care about where your meat came from before, lab grown meat is like really rising to the surface of being on the shelves. And if you care about that, it is time to know where your food comes from. And it's really not as hard as you think it is. Right. There's a lot of ranchers with great stories and daily stories that would love to supply you and your family. So it's not that hard. And, you know, they can jump on your website if they don't even know where to start, and continue to follow, you know, people like us. I think social media is really opening a window for to see what cattle ranchers do on a daily basis,
Yep.
or even feedlot guys if they want to show it. And look, this is what our day is. This is the cows being comfortable. This is the crap that they get into. My grandpa used to say, when a cow doesn't fuck up, he'll shit on, right? Like it breaks everything. Cows are always looking for a reason to break stuff. So, and anybody, there's a lot of guys out there that'll show you what their day's like.
Yep.
And you get to look at the cattle. And if they look malnourished, don't buy from them. And if they look great and you get to see the kind of care that people are putting in it, then that might be your guy.
Yep.
And then you could look at, there's so many different ways to feed them now. There's guys in the central California that are doing citrus. There's some corn in it, but they're feeding some coal oranges, because a lot of fruits and vegetables in California, where I'm from.
Have you seen anybody else doing carrots?
No, we're the one and only because how strategically located we are.
Okay.
And we've really kind of carved out, like, we're the carrot finish guys.
Yep.
And so I've heard of some guys doing like potatoes up in Canada. We fed potatoes before. You lose your grass-fed claim though because it's a starch. Okay. It's not. It doesn't fall under grass-fed guidelines. So you could do potatoes. They taste a little different, but it's not bad.
Interesting.
So a cow to grow, it either needs a sugar or a starch.
Yep.
Starch would be like grains, barley, corn, potatoes. Sugar would be natural grasses that grow on the hills, or a carrot is part of that as well. Because we have massive amounts of fresh daily carrots available, they get to not have to travel so far and consume the same. And we're still a free range concept though, right? Like we don't ever have to like scrape pins or anything. Our pastures go from thousands of acres to 1,000 to a couple hundred,
Yep.
down to like 20, right? And as it sits, the cows free choice it. So their body tells them what they need, not a nutritionist. So we offer native grasses or like the Sudan grass hay.
Okay.
And fresh carrots, and there are different parts of the pasture, and their bodies will tell them, hey, I need some roughage, and they go eat that. Then they love the carrots. It's like candy, and they fill up on that. We put salt blocks out. We blow through the salt because of the water retention. They crave the salt.
Really figured out exactly what works for your exact program.
Yeah, but it's very like elementary. Like we did, like if it's not broke, we're not going to fix it. I'm not trying to like reinvent the wheel here. It's just what we've been doing our whole lives. It's just under our nose now. It's been under our nose the whole time. We just were able to bring it to market. And I think if we tried to do this in the 90s, people would have been like, no,
Right.
like, no. But the grass-fed movement really helped a lot. And my hat's off to those guys for really showing the omegas and like people that feel good on it and all the health benefits. And then we were just able to, they say a pioneer's a guy, you don't want to be the pioneer because he's the guy laying in the trail with the arrow in his back. So I can see anything that has been successful in the beef industry or even the grass-fed beef industry, and we can just try to follow that and say, look, our goal is to make better bone broth, make better jerky, because of the carrot beef, and continue to build on that. Whether it's supplements, I mean, we've even looked at, actually, we have a tallow company we work with called Lucky Pearl. And they take our kidney fat, the suet, render it, and they make this amazing skincare cream, right?
Okay.
Sunscreen
So
and everything.
Whole animal, no matter what.
Whole animal,
Yep.
We even offer 70-30 ground beef. That way we're not having to mix other like lean product in with ours.
Okay.
So when you get into like the imports of beef, all right, when you grain fed these animals, like if you've ever had something that's like a ground beef that's way too greasy or fatty, that's corn fed and it like sticks to the roof of your mouth.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you can cut that by adding more lean product. Well, they can only make so much 80-20 on a load of corn fed animals. There's a lot of 50-50 fat left over. Okay. So now like you can only make so much Slim Jims. And now these pepper stick guys, they're finding that leaner beef preserves better. So what do you do with all these 50s? That's when we import this Australian, Argentinian beef that is super lean. They just go catch wild bulls out in the middle of, the station.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And then they bring it in and they take these lean trimmings and they blend it. So that's why like the cheaper ground beef could have 1,000 cows in it, because you've got American cows and you've got Australian or Brazilian or Argentinian cows all blended together in one burger bite.
So do you think that's necessary in order to feed a whole population, or do you think there is a point where we could have everything raised and produced just here?
Well, the way it stands, you got to have a home for. I mean, you could mix like older cows that are leaner. You know, the dairy cows. They do that too, but I don't think there's enough of it.
Okay.
I'm not against importing the trimmings. I think that people would like to know though.
More transparency.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think people just want to know. I do think that single source beef tastes better. I can taste the difference in, like, I don't care if it was 1 cow or 100 cows. If they came from the same ranch and they were harvested the same and we blended them, it's the same batch. Versus like we're mixing a bunch of oddball stuff.
Yep.
And it's a cheap burger from a cheap whatever. Like, I can taste the difference. It's like gray matter, if that makes any sense,
Yep.
you know? So, and you probably can too. I mean, if you've had some fresh single source versus some crap burger, you know the difference.
Yep. And part of it is, you know, I get skeptical when I get from the same processor that I had like a bad cut from. I'm like, is it? Because to an extent, like some of these guys are, I lose all my control once it goes to this bigger processor. And that's, you know, obviously exactly what you ran into is the potential risk there. Like I get worried.
Once
sometimes.
it's out of your control, it's out of your control. Even
Yep.
when it comes to, you know, shipping, UPS. Like if things were scheduled to deliver on a Friday, but they stay in a distribution center over the weekend, my phone's ringing the next day and it's bad meat, right?
Yep.
It was out of our control. Driver didn't show up or whatever. They were shorthanded that day. Something happened where your package didn't get delivered. Now I got to reship it. And I eat it, you know, because it's not the customer's fault either.
Yep.
So we've actually moved. We were having a lot of issues. And in the last week, especially with the heat coming, we have moved to like a 2-day air on a lot of stuff. It costs more, but like it doesn't do the animal any service if we go through all this work and it takes 2 or 3 years to get it to someone. You know, by the time you grow them, raise them, pack them, freeze them, get it in a box, get it to their door, and then like the meat's hot.
Right.
Like we're not that animal, that part of it died in vain, I feel like, you know?
Yep.
So now I got to reship it. So if it costs a little bit extra, it preserves the integrity of our product. And, you know, the shipping side of it, I feel for these guys because we're cowboys. Like we get on a horse, we weld, you know, but now we got to figure out like shipping and tracking and make a system for it. There's guys that are like, I got to do what? Oh, and UPS doesn't drive out to the ranch where my freezers are. So now I either have to lease a cold storage rental and go there and do my boxes, you know, it's a whole thing. Getting it to the doorstep, you know, we're not Amazon, but we're trying. And I think that there's a lot of people that are mastering it. And there's a lot of people that are trying to figure it out. You know, there's a lot of chatter about people want to break the big four up, right?
Yep.
They have lobbyists and they have checkoff dollars. And I don't know. I think if you want to independently do it, you have to unite all those processors and make a label. Okay. Say you called it United Stock Growers Association, right? Or United Stock Growers of America. Okay. Now you have USA Beef. Okay. This is what you do. Then you have a USA Beef box. Or people like me who have my own box, I want that stamp.
Yep.
Then you say, okay, USA Beef, 100% grown, raised in America. You just bypass cool. You know that it's not foreign beef, right? You have that, and you know it's not the big four. But you can conglomerate these independent processors to fill larger contracts with like Safeway, Kroger, all those things. So where I'm from, like they did a United Farm Worker, Cesar Chavez came out, and he did it horribly, right? Like they beat and tortured people and like forced them to unionize. Okay. Not cool, right? I'm not like that, but like what happened was they would put a Black Eagle stamp on a box of grapes if those were a unionized farm, right? Okay. So now only the grocery store would only buy ones with this Black Eagle, you know, United Farm Worker stamp. So anybody who didn't sign on to that went out of business. Okay.
Interesting.
They hurt a lot of small guys, but in that same concept, if you could make some kind of USA Beef only and then put the pressure on some of these grocery stores, you know, now you're talking, hey, we support independent farmers and ranchers. You might even get a premium for it. And you're not packing with these other guys. Then you start taking market share. Then you'll start seeing more and more of the big guys' plants close down.
Yep.
That's the big way, because otherwise, one cow, two cow at a time, it took 100 years to get us this corrupt, and it's going to take 100 years to unwind it.
Yep.
But if you want to try like a big movement, that's the way you do it. And it's going to take a lot of uniting and like convincing these guys to make these boxes and put that USA stamp on there. But then you've cut out the cattle packs. Like we have our own cool, we have our own label, we have our own everything, and you can fill contracts with it.
Yep.
That's how you do it in a big way. And if they've got 80, 85% of the market share, you're talking about 15% trying to make a movement.
Yep.
It's tough, but that's the way you fight it.
And that sometimes I'm so curious why I'm doing it, but it's just like, it has just been crystal clear to me that this is the thing that I'm supposed to do. And
well,
the
something's
power
in the
of
air.
this side of these things.
Yeah, something's
like,
in the air with it, with food prices, with beef. And honestly, like everyone now is saying, oh my gosh, beef prices are high. They're mad at Trump for it. Trump, oh, I got the eggs, but I can't get the beef. Like we're coming off of 50 years of bad publicity,
Yep.
right? Like from Oprah saying a hamburger's bad for you to like being at the wrong side of the food pyramid. Cholesterol's bad. Steak's going to give you cancer. Like too much ground beef is going to give you a heart attack. All that bullshit has led to no one wants to be in the cattle business because you're hated for so long. Now it's like, oh, you ranchers, you're making money. And no. Like, no, dude, these guys are paying off 50 years of debt.
Yep.
Right now. And they've never seen that much money for their heifers. And they don't know if the market's going to be there, if something crazy is going to happen from this administration trying to lower beef costs, if they're caught holding heifers that lose 15% when they could just sell them right now. It's a tough spot for them. Rebuilding is going to be tricky and intricate.
Yeah, and everything's working against it. Like if I was putting big bets that I wanted to adopt all the land, I wanted to take out agriculture and put out a new, like basically a new world order where it's like everything's lab grown. We have AI data centers on all the agriculture land. Like, what would I do? I'd spike the prices of everything so that the people who have been in debt for 50 years are all of a sudden needing to sell everything. Right. And that's
we're getting more efficient. I mean, look what we're doing. We're taking land that, you can only run seasonally, a few cows on.
Yep.
And we can mass produce in still a free range concept. When I said earlier, like if we don't change in 10 years, you're going to be out of business. We've got to figure this out.
Yep. So what do you think that looks like?
What do I think it looks like? I think that there's a lot of unknowns out there.
Okay.
I think that there is a lot more independence, like getting a louder voice. People want to know where their beef comes from. It'll rebuild. Look, high prices fix high prices, right? Low prices fix low prices. We're going to have to let the market do what the market does. The Mexico thing, that's tough because there was a lot of cattle coming across the border. I think you could treat this stuff, and it's been proven you could treat it with doramectin, which is like a cousin of ivermectin, and you can hit it with ivermectin too. It's a parasite, right?
Yep.
But we don't want it. That just adds more cost to us. Now we got to go hit them with another thing and another thing. So if we could keep it off the border, great. And there's a lot of scare tactics saying it's coming. Me personally, I think that there's always another story behind things. I still have a little bit of a tinfoil hat, I think that
now it's the tinfoil hat and carrying the raw milk around.
Yeah,
that's the skeptics.
Well, look at Argentina. Like they consume 75% of their beef that they produce domestically, and now we're like we're cleaning their freezers out on the other 25%, right?
Huh.
But you ever heard of the Vaca Muerta?
No.
It's a giant oil basin in Argentina that's hard to get to, but there's big oil down there. And Milei,
don't say that too loud.
I'm not suicidal, right? Milei is trying to keep the currency propped up, and I think that we want to be part of that oil deal while lowering the beef prices. So Trump's like, yeah, I'll bring in these lean trimmings to mix with the 50s, so at least we'll have some cheaper ground beef for the American consumer. I'm not against that, right? We don't want to flood the market, but look, we've got, cattle a year ago were like 230, 240, and now they're 3 something. I mean, it's jumped over $1. Guys have never got this much money in their life. But yes, inputs cost more. Cost more to take your family to eat, cost more to buy a pickup, Costs more to buy a tractor. Interest rates haven't been this high in a long time. Cost of capital is a lot. So we'll see where it goes. I think I have faith this administration is going to do everything it can, but I don't know that you can undo 100 years or even 50 years of bad publicity in 4. So it's up to us. We're going to have to buckle down and do it right. Are you going to keep heifers? Are you going to keep a cow one more year? If she's starting to lose some teeth. I would love to do like another cutter cow program where a cow as it gets older will start losing teeth and then it can't really eat grass, right?
Okay.
And guys they'll cull them. Well, they could even be pregnant, but they'll get rid of them because they're not going to make the summer up on the forest,
Yep.
So, but we could feed them carrots and you get about 20-25% calves out of them. And I've seen old cows with no teeth in their head, man, like wiggle a carrot around and just swallow it whole. And the little pieces and the mash, they do great on it. And they'll gain like 6 pounds a day.
Wow.
So yes, I think we need to watch our culling, and heifers are it. I think keeping replacement heifers is, to me, still a great risk. But I understand anyone who's not, because if you're servicing expensive debt or you need new equipment or you're trying to stay alive because of your inputs, then you got to sell some heifers. I'll never fault them. But anybody who can roll the dice, I think it's there. Now, if you really want to fix it, also, the access to capital has been very tough.
Yep.
Very tough. I think that there needs to be some amazing tax incentives out there for big corporations, private equity, anybody who needs to unload some money tax-wise, where huge, they can say, oh, okay, these guys need $10 million to buy a set of grass-fed cattle, right? We're going to finance them at low interest, but they're going to save 35-40% in tax breaks, and they can move that to different entities.
So what makes a cattle operation investable?
Oh, man. So the hard part about private equity or even venture capital is like it wants to see less than 7-year return. And some of these are long-term investments,
Yep.
right? And there is a lot of concern on commodity risk. I mean, we've seen corn market just slide this week with the war. And it's planting time. So if corn's going down and these farmers haven't planted yet, waiting on this last storm that came through, they're going to switch over to soybeans.
Yep.
All right. So there's commodity risk in it. I think it's a large volume game and it can be a low margin, because when you say, look, we need to spend $2,200, $2,500 on a calf, and it's going to take 6 months to get it there, and we're going to have to put another 500 in it, and we're going to end up only making 10%, and the animal could die at any time. So the beef industry has become so efficient that it can run in large, like the big packers, right? Consolidation.
Yep.
So it can run on low margins and high volume. Now, for a producer to try to jump in this game and be competitive with 100 head, it's not sustainable.
Right.
That's the hard part. So it's got to be a volume game for people to jump into, or you have to command so much premium, or like all the ranchers, you got to have a wife with a good job in town.
Right.
It's a thing.
Interesting.
It's an uphill battle. Investable, I think the tax incentives could really, really lure some in. It's going to take, but we don't have lobbyists, right? Like, hey, I want some tax incentives to finance cattle. Who's going to get that? The big guys.
Yep.
How do you make sure like innovation is funded? Like, you look at USDA programs, we really don't fit in any of them. And like I said, we can increase the U.S. grass-fed output using a food waste. Like, this is carrots that didn't make the grocery store, right? Even the grass hay, the Sudan hay that we feed alongside of it is grown with recycled wastewater from the carrot plants. So we've taken this closed loop model of how, like Grandpa's back 40 where he fed pigs the slop, and put it over these billion-dollar carrot operations and said we can close the loop on sustainability. Trucks that were traveling 50 miles each way are now traveling 8-10 miles each way. We've cut the trucks on the road. We've cut the emissions down. We're using a food waste, and we're adding pounds of beef to the market.
That's incredible. I mean, just to be able to see that opportunity, and
we see the opportunity, and I think that, the investors are out there, with or without us having to go beg Washington for anything.
Right.
We don't fit in a box for them to check, and that's called innovation. And if they want to get on board, right on. But we're looking at the top of the mountain with or without them.
Yep. I like that. Yeah. Well,
Ben, hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to tell my story. I hope that your viewers kind of learned a little bit. I am willing to answer any questions at any time. You can find our website, santacarota.com. You can buy our meat off of there. My email's on there. My phone's on there. And I'd be happy to hear from anyone.
awesome.
Cool.
Well,
Well, hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. That's great.